What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Shooting the Shit Uncensored. I'm your host, the dad bod god, the bald, the beard, and the fucking beautiful Piers Austin. And tonight, I'm really excited to have my next guest on, the Buccaneer. Bucky is a friend of mine. Every time I see him at a show, me and him always seem to gravitate to each other and have these awesome conversations. And you know what? I thought, fuck it. Let's do it on the podcast. It's been a long time coming. I'm excited to have him on. But before I get into that, you know I need to take a quick second, a quick pause for that cause to thank the sponsors and help us keep the lights on up in this bitch. First off is healthvape.com. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Health Vape is your healthy vaping alternative. All of their products are no nicotine, no addictive or harmful chemicals. They help restore your energy while giving you the vital boost you need to get through your day. So guys, go and check out healthvape.com. All of their products are vitamin infused as well. So you're getting that vitamin intake and while trying to kick that nasty habit. So go and check them out. Use that promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on your final purchase, baby. Next up, Sleefs.com. That's SLEEFS, Sleefs.com. Now, listen, guys, if you or someone you know is an athlete, you need to check out Sleefs. They've got all your athletic wear and gear covered. They've got armbands, compression pants, compression shorts, compression socks, headbands, boots, mouth guards, and they've even got those dirty boxes that I'm always raving about, guys. Seriously, I threw out all my other boxes. All I wear are dirty boxes. Not dirty boxes, but dirty boxes from Sleeps. They stay dry, they stay fresh, and they've got funky designs on the front of them. So at the end of the day, when the belt buckle comes undone, Mrs. Austin is laughing on what's in front of the boxes, not what's inside them. That's it. Yeah, I know. Bad dick joke. All right, we get it. But guys, look, go and check out sleeps.com. Use that promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on your final purchase. Now, guys, wherever you are finding the Piers Austin channel, whether it be on YouTube, Twitch, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Play, wherever it is, like, share, subscribe. If you're listening on a podcast platform, please give me a 5-star review. I appreciate it. But anyway, guys, enough of me talking shit. Let's get into my conversation with my boy, the Buccaneer. Yeah! We're live, baby, live. What is good, brother? Thank you for joining me.
Happy to be here. Ahoy, how's it going? And as you were sort of saying, what's better than one person talking shit, but two people talking shit?
Absolutely.
Couldn't get any better.
Exactly. That's why we're shooting the shit. I'm good, man. I'm good. It's good to finally have you on, man. I feel like this has been a long time coming, really.
Yeah, but we got here, and that's the important thing, yeah?
That's it, man. That's it. You know, it's interesting, bro. Like, we were having a chat, you know, before the show, and you were actually like, we were talking about like the standard questions that people ask in podcasts, like especially in wrestling podcasting, right? Like, So tell me about how you broke it. Like, were you a fan of the business growing up? Like, no shit, really. So, but you were actually saying that you weren't a fan of the business growing up and you actually came into it a little bit later in life, correct?
Yeah, way later. So my interest in it, like, it was around. I knew it existed. Like, I had the kid up the road who, loved Bret Hart, that kind of thing. But I might have watched a Raw or something. I played Royal Rumble on the Super Nintendo, but I never really got into it. Um, and then I had some mates in high school who were right into WCW and were keen on it, and I just gave that a wide berth whenever they were like, "Hey, do this." But it wasn't till it was a mate that I'd met at uni, and it would have been, I'm going to say, the 2001 Royal Rumble. So I was already at uni, and he's gone, "Oh, come back to mine. I'm watching Royal Rumble like today." I'm like, "Oh, I'm not going to come watch that fake shit, man. I don't want to watch that." And he's like, "No, no, man. The athleticism, the performance, the acting, the characters, you'll love it." And I'm like, very reluctant, but I go along, and sure enough, it got me very easily. And the more I looked at it, I'm like, that's amazing. There's nothing fake about any of this. They can't be green screening any of this. They got 360-degree crowds. It's just them performing in front of a massive audience. And yeah, that got me hooked.
Yeah, it's amazing, like how certain things in wrestling I think can hook anybody. And it's like if it's a good enough angle or a good enough like match or storyline or whatever it is,
Mm.
I've told this story many times, but long story short, I was watching an old indie show on independent wrestling TV, and it was an intergender match. And my wife, who's not a fan of wrestling, just does not even interested in it. By the start of this match, she was like reading something or doing something on an iPad. By halfway through the match, the iPad was down. She's on the edge of the seat. By the end of the match, she's like, "Are they going to wrestle again next week?" I'm like, "This is from 2005." But there was something in that she was able to get hooked in, and that was able to draw her in. And I think that wrestling has that thing where it can do that to people without people necessarily being a fan. They can go, "Oh yeah, this is bullshit," right?
Yeah.
But then they could see something happen in it that attracts them into it, that draws them into it. And that's something I feel that wrestling is so cool about.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. One thing that I tell people a lot, especially when I invite them to a show, I've never had someone come to a wrestling show and leave going, "I had a bad time." They always have something they enjoy about it. They might not come back next time. They might not be that invested, but they have a damn good night no matter what, no matter the show, no matter what they get out of it. There's always something. And I just genuinely have never met anyone who's come along to their first show and went, "Well, that sucked. And that was a waste of my time." It's always, "Yeah, no, I had a good time. I loved yelling at that guy who was a prick. I loved cheering on the good guys. I loved, that big character with the larger than life, whatever feature they've attracted to." But yeah, there's always something, whether it be a character or whether it be a match or whether it be a particular feeling. Because, I mean, that's the important thing, isn't it? That's what wrestling does. It invokes feelings.
It does, and I think that that's the beauty of what wrestling is. And I think it's like, what other form of entertainment can really draw you in like that? And I think that, like, years when we were growing up, there was a lot of those moments. And I feel like that's what's probably been lacking in most recent mainstream wrestling that we see in the last couple of years. Like, there's been no real moments that really go, "Oh, you motherfucker." You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Yep. And I mean, one of the big moments for me, in terms of wrestling, it's I'm drawn to those emotional moments and I'm really keen on those. So looking at stuff like the second Undertaker Michaels match at WrestleMania, I went into
Yeah.
that thinking, I've seen this. This is going to be, I saw this last year. Like, what are they going to do? And then, boy, did they. Like, the emotional ride that match took me on. And just the moment where I forgot that I'm watching a wrestling show. I'm not watching a work. I'm watching this story play out. And it's amazing. It was just, especially towards the end of the match where they're clearly starting to build towards a finish. Sean's got nothing left in the tank, and it's just going towards the ending that we sort of can see coming from a good minute away. But yeah, it's those sorts of emotional moments. Even the "I'm sorry, I love you" kick that Michael dropped on Ric Flair, like that. That was a moment for me that overshadowed the rest of that entire show. Like, I don't know who did what moves in what matches. I watched
Yeah.
him destroy his mate, and that was what I needed. Well, not needed to see, but that was what I got from that big emotional investment moment.
And I think those are the ones that really hook people. I think
Mm.
like the funny spots and stuff like that. Yeah, cool. Like that'll get it like a little bit of a pop. But I think that those emotional moments are what really hooks people.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like the "I'm sorry, I love you" moment. Like I think a lot of people would probably look at that and go, "Oh wow, that's really cheesy." If they're not
Yep.
invested into it, right? But if you're
Yep.
a wrestling fan, you know the history and the story behind it, then fuck yeah, you're gonna be hooked. And even if you're not, like, but if you're just sitting there watching it and can take it for what it is, you're gonna get hooked.
Yep. And like they'd already taken it on a bit of a ride through that match. You've got the promo package coming into it. You've got the match itself to get you emotionally invested. I think you could watch that WrestleMania on its own without getting context from elsewhere. And you could get to that moment and still go, whoa, okay.
Crazy Carl says Ric Flair 2022. I'm sorry, I love you, money. Yeah, I agree. But
Yep,
like,
that's fair.
how long after like you going in 2001 watching the Royal Rumble and getting hooked? How long after that was it for you where you were like, I need to get in the fucking business?
Well, that in itself is a bit of a story. So I watched it for a bit, drifted away from it a little bit, and then sort of came back, got Foxtel after not having it
Yeah.
for a while, and bang, suddenly there's your Raw and your SmackDown again, start watching them, getting back into it. And it was that I was doing powerlifting with a mate to lose weight because I was like, gonna start losing weight, get a little healthier. And then I started really getting strong. And I thought, you know what? You know what'll be fun? Let's lift heavy things. And once I get to the point where I can squat my own body weight, I'll go and learn how to wrestle. And sure enough, went and checked out the AWF school and down I went.
It's interesting, man. Like so many people start at AWF. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like I think AWF has been the training grounds for a lot of top Australian wrestling talent. Like you look at the top of the like Australian wrestling now, majority of people got their start at AWF.
yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people, even just thinking about the people that I not really came up with because through my specific class, it was just me and Mehmet that ended up ever making it into the ring. But just the people that were around at those stage, like your Jax Jordans and your Lucianos, who was at the time not Tree Hugger Lucci, but Luciano da Vinci, I think. But all those people just sort of being around at that stage, it was such a big talent stronghold, I guess. Like a lot of people who have built a base there and then moved on to do other stuff.
Yeah. No, I definitely think, and I think AWF sometimes that probably doesn't get that credit. You know what I mean? In a lot of
Mm.
ways, because I think everyone has to get their start somewhere. But for yourself, like going and then starting the wrestling training, were you able to, like when you went into it, like how did you find like first day of training? Like was the bumping what you expected it to be? Was it like something that you had no idea what to expect? Like what was your thought going in on day one of training?
I knew it was going to be hard, and I knew that it was absolutely going to push all of my certainly pain tolerance. I was not expecting to have to, you know, take bumps that hard. Like it was not something I prepared for. Let's go with that one. That's a far better answer. I knew that it was something I hadn't prepared for as well. So I knew it was going to hurt, and I knew it wasn't going to be necessarily easy and pleasant. I think one of my biggest things, though, about how you get used to it is I think after about the first 6 months, I had to take some time off for shoulder surgery. It was probably actually longer than that, thinking about it. Um, so I took 9 months off, had a shoulder reconstruction, came back, and the very first time at training, and by this stage I was training closer to home up here at the House of Free Fighting. The first time I hit the ropes after that, just the pain. And I was like, oh my God, that's what it felt like when I first was hitting the ropes. Your body just becomes so accustomed to taking bumps, to hitting the ropes. And it's the things you don't expect that hurt a lot. Like those ropes are still steel cable, no matter how
Mm.
much you are planning to hit them, you're running at them. So that first strike just across my back hitting it, it was amazingly painful. But yeah, again, I was prepared for it to be painful. I just
Yeah.
don't know that I was ready for it. And obviously a lot of other things as well. Athletic stuff, was never my major forte. Strength always has been. Like, I've always been a strong guy, and especially when I was doing more powerlifter, strongman training stuff, that was my focus. Doing rolls, flips, nah, not so much. But that's all stuff you've got to do to make sure you've got that kind of bodily control where you can look after yourself and other people. So, like, it was a sharp learning curve in terms of almost acrobatics side of things. But yeah, I got there. Probably a few things I would do differently if I were to prepare for it again. But it was very much a shock to the system getting into training. And there were understandably a few times where, as most people do, just going, I don't think I can do this. And the other thing as well, would have been 32 at the time. So I was well older than anyone else that was training.
Yeah. How did
So,
you feel being like that age, like going in 32 years of age? Because like most people, like, I don't know, like they're like late teens, early 20s coming in. Did you kind of feel like the odd man out at the beginning?
oh, absolutely. There was a lot of athletic talent going around as well. And there's, like, your footy players and guys who've been doing this sport and that sport and, borderline top level at it. And you're like, oh, it's just me. But then you start to realize I can do a lot of things these guys can't. I'm bigger than them, for one. So I've got that imposing size to begin with. I can pick up things that they can't even contemplate picking up. Like, I've got maybe not pound for pound the most strength here, but I can definitely outlift these guys in a lot of aspects. So as long as I can control it and keep it safe, I have my own niche that I fit into. But yeah, it was absolutely intimidating seeing a lot of those, especially younger and more athletic guys doing their things.
Did you like how long into your training before, like, obviously you took some time off for shoulder surgery, but like once you came back from shoulder surgery, how long into it before you started wrestling?
Oh, so the shoulder surgery was actually after my second match. So I was already wrestling at
Oh,
that stage. So I think it would have started in the March, and then I had my first match in January against Diego. So 11 months.
oh wow.
Yeah.
And did you come in as the Buccaneer character, or was that
Oh,
something
yeah.
that you?
Yeah. I've been a
Yes, you
pirate
had a
for a lot
Buccaneer.
longer than I've been a wrestler. I actually had my pirate hat. My pirate hat used to be a thing that was just my everyday apparel. Like, I would wear that thing down to the shops. I had to sort of back off a little bit because for a
You're
while in my
fucking with
life there. Yeah.
me. Is
No,
that
not
the
at all.
shoot, or are you fucking with me?
That's legit. Yeah, absolutely legit. If you ever have a chat to Genghis Kong, he actually remembers seeing me walking around the shops in a pirate hat, probably with no shoes as well. Just, it's how we roll. But yeah, I was doing pirate stuff well before wrestling, and I actually showed up first day of training with my pirate hat. There was no doubt ever that I was going to be anything but a pirate. Like, the only thing that shed some doubt on it is that Caesar had started training, I think maybe 6 months before me, and he was already
Yeah.
starting to do the pirate thing. And I was like, oh man, can I also be a pirate? I don't want to take this guy's gimmick.
And you end up being a tag team with him, right? Like,
Well,
did you
that's
guys
it.
like straight away? Like, it was like, wow, we're both pirates. We got to tag.
That was it. I went up to him at a show. I was still a trainee at that point. So I think I'd been working security at that show. And there were a couple of the guys he was training with that had come along to the show. I'm like, yep, bang, how you guys doing? Because, introduce yourself to the other trainees. And one of them's gone, oh, yeah, this is Caesar. And I went, oh, Caesar the pirate guy. And he's like, yeah, yeah. I'm like, dude, I'm dead set on being a pirate as well, man. Is there room in New South Wales for 2 pirates? And his response was, yeah, absolutely. As long as we tag up sometime. And I'm like, done.
That's
And then
awesome,
from,
man. And because you guys
yeah,
work like just really well together, like the two different styles or the contrast of styles, it seems to mesh so well.
yeah, the big guy, little guy tag team's a classic. It can't be beaten. But
Yeah.
we've also sort of built that around together as well. So I've got that more serious vibe where I just want to fight someone. He's got that more playing around, stealing, drinking side. And then we can play off each other for antics if we can't play off our opponents for antics. Then it can be me getting frustrated that he's being stupid, him getting frustrated that I'm, focused on beating the hell out of this guy and not tagging him in. We can create tension amongst ourselves if our opponents aren't necessarily coming to the party on our ridiculous antics. Because, I mean, Caesar loves an antic. Some of his earlier stuff has involved him throwing inflatable sharks at people. That sort of giving. I will never forget seeing photos of that and just being like, dude, what were you doing?
It's interesting because, like, when I first saw, like, you guys, before I actually saw you guys on a show, I saw it was like
Mm.
pirates. I go, is this going to be like? And I don't mean any disrespect, but I thought, is this going to be a
None taken.
cheesy, right? And then I saw you guys live on a show, and it's like, this isn't like, you know what I mean? Like, kids can enjoy this, but adults
Yep.
can also enjoy this. It's not cheesy shit, right? Like,
Yep.
was the big thing to me, where I was like, wow, this is like actually a really cool, fun gimmick.
Yeah, I mean, we could drift well into that. Ahoy, yo ho, haha, and that's it. But for us, yeah, like doing something that's fun takes precedence over doing the Hollywood pirate gimmick, and both being Jack Sparrow. And I mean, people recognize we're pirates, we're dressed as pirates. Like, we do not need to be out there doing the over the top cheesy pirate bit, if
And
that
that's
makes
what I
sense.
enjoy about the act, to be honest,
Mm,
because it's not over the top cheesy. It's cool. It's like adult. Like I said, it can be taken in adult humor as well. Kids, it gets over with kids as well. But like I said, not cheesy at all. Great gimmick.
absolutely. Though I do want to point out to Rochelle Rogue, we are not bringing back the shark. The shark is done. Putting my foot down on the shark.
No, you weren't a fan of the shark?
Oh, look, it entertains me greatly, but it's one of those ideas that I'm like, I do not want to. I don't want to wrestle an inflatable shark, as much fun as that might be.
Do you find, like, with the character, like with the pirate character, because it seems like such a baby face like gimmick,
Mm,
like, to be honest, both with you and Caesar, and put Rochelle in there as well. Do you find
absolutely.
it hard when you have to then turn it up and be a heel?
It has been very rare that we've done heel work as a team. So we have once done heel work as a team, and honestly, it's hard to overcome that initial excitement that people get when they see pirates. So our music hits, we come out, crowds go, "Oh, cool, pirates! This is cool." And then we have to go, "No, no, oh, we're jerks. We hate this place and all of you dumb people in it. We're going to steal all your things." And it just, neither of us really have that energy. I mean, I can have that energy, which I feel like I have brought to the table in my current bit of a heel run at the Kingdom. Certainly, beating the hell out of Caesar is a good pathway to just being a heel, no matter where you are. That guy just exudes the energy of the underdog and the energy of feel bad for me whenever I am in danger.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. There's easy ways, I think, like to turn heel and face with certain characters. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Hmm.
just small nuances, right? But
Yep.
like, I feel because, like, you're such a jovial guy. Like, for you to go heel, I think, like, you would have to really take it to the extreme, like beat the shit out of like someone like Caesar, where that betrayal, right?
Yep.
Because everybody loves that kind of story.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, and let's face it, putting him through a table and taking his mask, that is a hell of a way to up the ante on that one. Like, to
Oh,
be a proper prick.
yeah, 100%. But do you like the heel run that you've done in Kingdom? Have you like changed much, like, of the gimmick as far as like ring attire, stuff like that, or have you stuck to like the same ring attire?
Ring attire is about the same, new entrance music. And the one time I came out, I had actually the wheel that's behind me there. I had his mask strapped to the ship's wheel as a reminder that I took his mask. So I kind of came out with that in my entrance gear, put it on the stage, and then because it was honestly a rumble, so it was then just beat the hell out of everyone you'd come across. But yeah, honestly, nothing big except in the way I carry myself. I'm less here to get a fun fight out of you and more to just beat the shit out of you. Like, that's what I'm here to do today. Whereas face me is quite often a, yeah, that was a good hit, mate. Let me show you mine. And come on, mate, get up, hit me again. Yeah, there you go. That was good.
Like a
And
fair fight.
that's it. I want to get the best fight I can out of the person I'm fighting. So I'm not gonna, come on, get up. That was a really good hit. Yep, try it again. Beautiful. Bang. Here's my forearm. Let's go. Whereas, heal me once I've got you down. It's just punches, kicks, elbows, pick you up, throw you, that kind of gimmick. So there's less mucking around in the way I carry myself, and it's more serious face all the time.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing when you're a big dude as well, that sort of stuff puts that fear into the audience as well, because they're like, wow, look, this guy's a scary motherfucker.
Yep, that's it. And it's about carrying the bulk in a more aggressive way than in a fun way. Which
Yeah,
it's weird when
100%.
I say it like that, but that's literally what I'm doing there.
But do you have a preference? Like, do you prefer to work baby over heel? What's your feeling after working, the recent run at Kingdom in a heel run?
So I'm still heel up here. Genuinely, I enjoy baby more, but I'm enjoying the opportunity to sort of explore things a little differently and to, be that more aggressive self. So I do still really enjoy babyface work and would prefer that. But for now, I think heel work is just an interesting way for me to experiment and express different things through the character while still ultimately being the same character.
Oh, 100%. And I think like I said, it's just small little nuance changes that you can do. But
Yep.
as far as adding Rochelle Road, when was that decided to bring her into the mix?
Caesar basically was looking at doing that as a way that we could get someone else involved because we wanted a third pirate for a while, and it was a matter of looking at people and looking at who sort of fit the mold. And to be honest, at the time, there was space where we could look in and bring in, say, an up and coming pirate who was, trying to find their niche, and she just fit that incredibly well. So she did a bit of work with Caesar with a goal to them sort of developing this almost brother sister dynamic, which we did at FWA, and then bring her into the fold from there.
Yeah, because it seems like the three of you guys you guys work so effortlessly together as far as like doing, whether it's in ring, but also whether it's on promos and stuff like that. Like it just flows really well. Like the three of you were just a tight knit group.
It's a lot of fun. Although part of that is possibly me because I will do a million takes of a promo if we're filming it before I will be happy with it.
Are
So,
you are you one of those people that are like never happy with like their work, no matter how good it is?
yep. But I can acknowledge when I've got something that's good as well. And yeah, obviously, as Rogi points out, it's because we're a shoot family. We even beyond the ring do genuinely adore each other. Like all three of us get on like a house on fire. Um, but yeah, I will do multiple takes, and I'm even thinking back to a promo on that we did for an FWA show where we were sending a challenge to Massive Q, and it was a really simple promo. It was the two of them mucking around on a actual pirate playground that I'd found. Us talking over dinner about challenging Q, and then just Rogi throwing this bottle as far as she could down the beach. I think I made her film throwing that bottle about 20 times just because I was like, nah, you weren't in the center of the shot. Do it again. Get your footprints off the beach as well. We need to make it look
Oh
like we've
wow.
never filmed it. But yeah, that's me.
Does that get you heat with the crew though?
Caesar's not a big fan. Caesar's very much a one and done kind of guy. And to be honest, his
Yeah.
work on one and done is usually pretty good. But yeah, it'll be occasionally a promoter will ask me for a promo, and I'll just be like, look, it's going to take me 20 odd takes. I'm going to need to find a location for it. I'm either going to be in a bar, on a beach, near a ship. I need to, like, I'm not a blank wall in my house kind of guy. Sometimes I'll do one in the gym here at home as if I'm just doing let's do something large thing. But yeah, more often than not, I'm like scouting locations, finding beaches to do this on, that sort of gimmick. So I'm sure promoters get frustrated with me all the time because they'll be, hey man, can I have a quick promo? And I'll be like, yeah, I'll get it to you sometime in a week and a half when I got time to go and do all this ridiculous shit and then film it 20 times and then be pissed off at it, have to go back out to the location, film it again.
But that's taking pride in your craft, though, right? Like
Hmm.
to go to that level, just shows the level of investment that you have in, your character and
Yeah,
also the story that you're trying to portray. Like in my eyes, that's the way I would look at it.
exactly. And that's sort of where I am. It's more when I'm looking at, say, locations, it's where would the Buccaneer be? He would be on a beach, he would be in a pub, he would be on a ship. Those are my options. Like maybe near a lighthouse. We'll do something cool. And I feel like it's touches like that that really can make a character. If I were just a blank wall in my house kind of guy, then I'm a guy cosplaying as a pirate, which let's face it, kind of am. But once you start to bring setting and location into it, that's where it sort of jumps up a little bit.
Brings it alive more.
Exactly. I mean, there was one I did a while back because on, I say 2019, early 2019, I got sent on a tall ship for 9 days for work. It just was one of those things where my boss called and was like, "Hey, do you mind going on a 17th or 16th century tall ship for 9 days and get paid for it?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, send me." And while I was on there, I was like, "I've got to get a promo for someone just while I'm sitting on this ship as it's going offshore. I got this big wooden ship. We've got sails. I've got a wheel. We've got, a legitimate ship. How can I not film some promos on it?" Unfortunately, I only had one show going up at the time, and I didn't have anything in mind to just do as a general promo. So we only did the one. But it was one of those things where I was like, I've got this location. I have to use it.
At that point, you're like just trying to chase a promoter, get a booking so you can do the promo, right?
That's it. Like, someone book me immediately and we'll get it happening.
Yeah. Just give me an opponent and I'll cut a promo.
Yep. No, don't even give me that. Just tell me I'm coming to your show. Just tell me when the show is and where it is, and I'll tell them.
But how did you find like doing promos? Was that something that came naturally to you? Because you're a pretty charismatic dude, right? Like, I mean, like, was promo something that came pretty easy to you?
Oh, you put a microphone in my hand in the middle of the ring? Not so much. I don't think anyone's ever really handed me a microphone in the middle of the ring. It's happened maybe twice, and the first one was woeful. But again, that could be me being too harsh on it. But it was also the end of a match, so I was utterly gassed and trying to catch my breath, and just could not get decent words out. But I generally leave that for Caesar because he's the talkier, mouthier one. Yeah. So usually, if we're getting the option to have a mic, it's in Caesar's hand without fail. It's not that I don't think I would manage as well. It's just that I think him being mouthy builds his character more, and he's just comfortable with it, as near as I can tell. He may hate me for doing it. I'm not sure if he is. He's never told me. But I'm pretty comfortable with the idea of doing promos, and I've got no real issue with it. I just very rarely do. Certainly in the ring.
I think
to camera,
as well, like,
happily.
But you know what? I think as well, like, to have him, like, if you guys were to be like do a heel tag team as well, like him being like that little yappy dog that's jumping around and you just got the big dog that's in the background. You know what I mean? Like that can also work.
And then as soon as it's time to actually start fighting, he just hides behind me immediately. Absolutely. We have a bit that we used to do whenever we were tagging somewhere for the first time. We would do this just in case it was an unusual crowd. But there was a lot of back and forth where we would argue with each other about who was going to start the match. And I would then pop him over the ropes to start the match myself, turn my back on him, and as soon as the bell rang, he'd just slap me and jump in. So we'd do this big back and forth. I'm starting. No, I'm starting. I'm starting. No, I'm starting. No, you're not. Yes, I am. So it's just, I don't know why I brought that up. That's just one of those antics things that,
you know what, like, that's
don't have opponents, we can play off each other.
But that's the sort of thing that'll get a reaction from any crowd, right?
Yep, absolutely. And let's face it, it's 30 seconds where we don't have to be doing flips and wrist locks and other things that I definitely do.
But like, for you, is it all about now for you wanting to be part of a team? Like, I know you're in the middle of a heel run down in Kingdom. Is there any plans for you to get like a solid singles push down there?
Every possibility. I mean, we'll see what comes, but I genuinely do enjoy tag work, and I'll quite often look to do tag work over singles work. It's a lot more fun when I've got someone else to play off. Again, I don't mind doing singles work, and I enjoy certainly the singles push that I had there a couple of years back, and I'm enjoying doing singles work as a heel. But I thoroughly enjoy tag work because I just genuinely like working with Caesar and Rogi for that matter.
Was tag team like wrestling something that you were a fan? Like, once you got into wrestling, was like that sort of something that that you spent a lot of time invested in? Like, did you enjoy tag wrestling? Was it till you started tagging that's where you found your love for it?
So the thing that actually grabbed me on that Rumble show was Edge and Christian. Like that tag team was what made me go, "Oh, okay, this is cool." Watching them do their antics bullshit as a couple of blonde surferish dudes with real big himbo energy, like that was what sold me on wrestling at all. So I liked tag work and I really liked the extra stuff you could work in. I had no intention of doing tag specific stuff myself. I was like, yeah, I can be an interesting singles wrestler. But then, yeah, once we started doing tag work, I realized how much I enjoyed it, having those extra people in the ring to bounce ideas off, having a lot of different things you can then do. Also, I really enjoy not taking bumps, so it's really good when Caesar can do that.
Well,
Really,
especially
really
being the
love.
big man, because the big man doesn't bump, right?
No, I don't bump. I bump,
The big
once,
man don't
twice a match. That it. You're lucky if I give you
exactly.
one.
That's it, brother.
Yeah.
But, but like, as far as like, you guys, going around, so, you wrestle at AWF Kingdom,
Mm.
FWA, is there plans for you guys to sort of start going more like, reaching out a little bit more, going into state, maybe international bookings? Is that something on the cards for you guys?
Well, promoters, let me tell you right now that we are keen for some interstate bookings. So we talked about it a little bit. I was really keen to do it as part of my 5th year in wrestling. So we hit my 5th anniversary in wrestling, and then that next year I was like, yes, 5 years of the Buccaneer, let's do it. Let's go into state. Let's try and hit every state this year. Unfortunately, that year was 2020, so that did not happen. There were no shows. There was nothing but COVID. There was no travel. So yeah, it didn't happen. I'm keen to kind of do it now and have a crack at it and get into state. Caesar's on board as well, and obviously Rogi's killing it everywhere she goes. But yeah,
100%.
really do want to get some travel in because let's face it, not getting any younger. I've only got a limited number of bumps in me. So I mean, what if I'm giving out one per match? I'm gonna have to retire in the next 15 years, you know?
Hey,
But
brother, maybe you need to slow it down to one every second match, right?
that's it.
Let's
That's
get
it. We'll
let's
slow it
get
down.
30. But like,
Yeah,
has there
go till
been
I'm
any
60.
talks? Like, have you got any promotions where you'd like to go and work?
Look, nothing specific. I mean, obviously, there's some big ones out there, but I think just finding places that we mesh with the talent. Like, to be blunt, I'm not a main event, biggest show in the country kind of guy, and that's fair. Like, that's where you want the guys with the solid, clean wrestling with all of this stuff. Whereas I am very much more a character work guy. And that's fine. So I'm content to work anywhere that I can let that character loose and really show that off to the crowd, do that sort of stuff. So genuinely, I am happy to go wherever, just work and do fun things in front of a fun crowd and entertain people. Yeah, I have no goals specifically about which promotions I'm keen to work for. I just sort of want that. Let's tick the box of every state and or territory. We'll go around, we'll do that, and then maybe we can start thinking about retiring, but not a moment sooner.
Oh man, you've got a lot to do before you can retire, bro. That's for sure. But how
Absolutely.
do you still now enjoy watching wrestling now that you've been like wrestling for a few years? Like, do you can you sit down? And I ask this question a lot, but like to a lot of people, can you detach from the worker and sit down and watch wrestling and be a fan?
No, but the knowing that is because I was never a fan. Like from the moment I got into watching it, kayfabe was never a thing for me. So it has always been about the work and watching the work to me. So I can't. There's only a couple of matches that I've been able to detach myself from knowing it's a work, and especially now that I've been wrestling for a while. But that said, I can still enjoy it for what it is. I enjoy the athleticism. I enjoy watching people tell stories. I enjoy watching people express characters. And to me, big character work is where you will sell me on wrestling. Like some of my favorite wrestlers in the country are, guys with outlandish and over the top characters, and that holds true for the bigger shows as well.
Mm. I think as well, like, there's something that really attracts people to wrestling, and like there's
Mm.
fans are into it for certain levels. I think character work, promos, and that entertainment level draws probably a majority of people in. There's always
Yep.
going to be like people that love, chain wrestling and lucha wrestling and all these different styles. But I always think that like as far as character work and gimmicks, that's what
Mm.
really draws people in my eyes.
And that's it for me as well. Like honestly, I'm not overly worried how clean your wrist lock is. I'm interested in how cool your character is. I can watch two guys put on a very impressive technical match and go, yeah, that was very impressive. They're very talented. They're very good at what they do. But it didn't necessarily grab me. And so for one example of that is some of the big chunks when I was watching wrestling, I was not a big fan of Randy Orton. It wasn't that he wasn't amazing. It wasn't that he wasn't very talented. It just what he did wasn't for me. Like he's an incredible talent, but that's not what I'm here for. Like I want Edge losing his mind because the Undertaker's come to get him, or the Undertaker kidnapping Teddy Long for inexplicable reasons. Those are the kind of moments I'm here for, not the very precise and clean wrestling of a very talented wrestler, which again has its place, and a lot of fans do enjoy that. And I think that's an aspect of putting together wrestling shows. You've got to make sure you've got a bit of something for everyone, or at least that shows cater to certain people's interests. So that if you want a very clean wrist lock, and I keep using that example, but if you want a very clean wrist lock, you go to this show because they got it in spades. If you want a bizarre and ridiculous character, you go to this one because they've got 23 of them on the roster.
But I think that that's the thing. Like, you have to be able to move the needle, right? Like, you look
Mhm.
at someone like, let's look at some of the great ring technicians. Dean Malenko, Arn Anderson.
Yep.
Two absolute legends at what they do. Probably there's two greats in ring performers, right?
hmm
Personality wise, they're dry as toast.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I appreciate Arn on a lot of levels. I mean, hell, I
Same
stole his
here,
spine
brother.
buster. But yeah, I mean, if you were to pitch me that match on a pay-per-view, I'd be like, what else is on the card? Anything
Right?
else? Because I'm not putting my hand in my pocket for that one. It'll be great, and I'll probably watch it as a bit of a case study and go, oh, that's interesting. I'm stealing that. But I mean, in terms of entertainment, that's not going to get my wallet out.
Well, that's the thing where I found like, and you mentioned Randy Orton before, and I think like
Mm.
like when he started coming through, what was his gimmick? Nothing.
Mm.
Then he joined Evolution. He was like a cocky bad guy, pretty boy.
Yeah,
Cool. We've
which,
seen 1,000 of them in wrestling, right?
yep,
So I think like now he really probably understands character work more than what he did, in
absolutely.
that time. And it's probably just taken time for him to sort of really evolve from it. I think that even some pro wrestlers, while they're on that big stage, they might not really get character work or promos to that certain level. Like Rey Mysterio even said in an interview, like when they made him world champ, he wasn't ready. And he'd
Yeah,
traveled the world, but because he never thought he needed to do promos, because in Mexico, promos aren't a thing.
yeah, yeah. Sharp learning curve when you suddenly got a championship on your shoulder and have to talk to crowds in ways you've never had to before. A lot of pressure.
Yeah, like it's very intimidating.
Mm.
But for yourself though, like once you started breaking into wrestling, like who were you looking at like as for guidance or inspiration, so to speak, or did someone say, hey, you need to watch this person work because you've got similar characteristics, right?
Yeah, um, a lot of that sort of stuff. Obviously, people were giving me great suggestions. Vader was obviously one that I drew comparisons to a fair bit, which I resisted for quite some time. But you will probably notice that I'm now doing a Vader bomb. But yeah, I tried to resist that one for quite some time. um,
Was it
in
because of the
terms,
appearance of Vader being like a big dude like that, or
yeah, and I don't just want to be Vader light, you know. So I might look at some of his stuff and look at the way he carries himself, for example. But yeah, he was one that a lot of people were pointing me to at various places, and I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to draw that comparison, which is something that I try and avoid anyway. Like, If there's an opportunity for me to do my own thing or do something that's going to draw comparisons to other people, I'm avoiding that path and I'm doing my own thing. Like I would much rather I can only be compared to myself if I can get away with it. But in general,
Plus,
like
that
some of the
challenged
bigger
you.
guys, mm,
I was going to say, plus that challenges you creatively, right? To think of
that's
something
it.
original.
That's it. I've then got to think about things that match up with me and sort of build around that. Um, build my own skill set on what works for me, sort of thing, if that makes sense. See, I've honestly borrowed a lot of inspiration from a lot of people. There's lots of moves that I thoroughly enjoy and have incorporated in my skill set rather than studying one particular person. So obviously a few of the bigger guys that I've looked at the way they move, the way that they will aggressively stalk someone and try and build that in. Um, the Wyatt family were a big one for me
Yeah.
there for a while. And I do enjoy watching big man wrestling anyway. Like,
I think
just
everyone does, right? Because it's
I
like
hope so.
it's always good to see two big dudes beat the shit out of each other. It's awesome.
That's it. That's it. And that's one of the reasons I've loved my matches with Genghis Kong as well. Like we can really do that, two big dudes beating the shit out of each other for 10 minutes. Let's face it, I'm getting gassed after 10. I was gonna say 20, but no, that's not me, brother.
You're, you're you're at the bar after
Absolutely. I'm at the bar after 10 for sure. In terms of body model as well, like I've often, since he started, looked at Rusev or Miro, depending on where he is at any given time. He's one that I look at and like, that's some ideal body shape. I'm going for that. Plus, some of his moveset works for me as well. Let's, pick and choose a couple of things. And again, it's that the way he carries himself as well. So to me, rather than pulling move sets or that sort of stuff from people in that inspiration sense, a lot of what I do is looking at the way big guys carry themselves in given situations. And I think, okay, how does that work for me? Is that presenting too much of one aspect of the character if I start adding like that sort of bigger flex to my steps, or if I turn really slowly, like what does that add to my character? Does it add to my character? So it comes back to that character thing, and I look honestly more at the way people move more than what they do.
I'm so glad you said that because one of the things that I notice with when you work, like I've seen you wrestle a few times and wrestle different types of opponents. And the thing is, like, one thing I've seen in wrestling is and one thing that really gets me now is when I look at wrestling and I see big guys bumping around, like selling too much for a
Yeah.
smaller opponent. But when I see you do it, and I've seen you wrestle, a majority of the good people I've seen you wrestle are smaller opponents. You don't do that. You'll take the offense and you'll sell it, but you're not, you know what I mean? Like very rarely have I seen you go to off your feet. And that to
Yep.
me is a thing where it's like, I think that's what's missing in some big man wrestling today.
And for me as well, even if it's a smaller opponent. So for the example, the one time that Caesar and I have had a singles match, I got him to hit his finisher twice before it took me off my feet. So he was doing the eat defeat to the knee. I did one, dazed, another one, bang. Then I'll topple over for you and there's your pinfall. And that I think is something that's missed a lot, because if I'm constantly off my feet, then it doesn't mean shit when they get me off my feet at the end. There's no threat because I've been off my feet a million times. But if they cannot get me over, then the moment that someone kicks me in the head and I just topple backwards and there's the big bump, that's then a moment. And it comes
Yeah.
back to that as well. Like I'm creating not just a bit of mystique around me about, oh, I'm a big tough guy, but also I'm creating a moment where that person can just go, bang, I've got him. We've got this. I look like a hero. So that
But
that for me is that one.
and that's what I enjoyed because like that moment of like taking you off your feet, that should be the big pop, right? Like if that just happened like 5 times in the match, okay, great. Like now what? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it makes more sense and it puts storytelling in the right way. And
Yep.
I think as well, like you don't necessarily have to be the big tough guy to not bump for people, but it's like
No.
make the bumps mean something.
Yep. That's it. That's it. And I can, there's plenty of stuff I can do before going to a bump. I can be dazed, I can be shocked, I can be staggered, I can lean over to the ropes and go, crap my face. I can try and shake it off and then throw some strikes and I'm not getting it. Like there's heaps of spaces I can go to before you've obviously got me off my feet. Like there's places I can drop to a knee, and I can clearly show that, yes, you're on top of me and I'm getting the hell beaten out of me, but I haven't bumped. You haven't got me to that point yet.
Mm. And that's the thing where the crowd notice that as well. Like, it's the small stuff where you think that they won't, but they really do. And that's something that
Yeah.
I take a lot of notice when I sit there and watch matches, and I watch NXT quite regularly. And I saw a women's match, whereas like a much smaller opponent was like every second move is like laying out this tall, massive woman, and I'm just like, oh, like what the fuck, but you know,
Yep.
it's good to see some good old, like big man wrestling. I was gonna say old man wrestling, big man
Well, there's
wrestling
that as
styles.
well. It's rare that I'm not the oldest one in the room at a wrestling show.
Hey, bro, I reckon I've got a couple years on you, bro, easily.
I think you do. I think you might, but not many. Not as many as you've got on most of the rest of the rosters.
That's it, man. I turn up, I'm probably 20 years older than most of them.
Yep. It's a
Yeah,
few of them that I look at and I'm like, man, I could have taught you back in my high school teaching days.
but so you were a high school teacher?
I was. That was my former career. I've since moved on, but yeah, for a while I was a high school teacher.
Wow, that's cool, man. How
Mm,
long were you a teacher for?
8 years. And there was a little bit of overlap with the start of wrestling as well. So I was wrestling for a little bit, even in local venues near the school I was working at. Like, literally throw a rock and you could hit the school I was working at. Yeah, there's a bit of
How,
crossover there. And we would occasionally
how,
get students in.
how did that go? Like, I'm sure it went over huge with the students, right? Like, they
They
were like,
loved
all
it.
right, this is what about
Yep.
like the principals, and how did they find
Um,
it?
I warned him in advance because we had to, obviously, with most jobs, there's the whole, hey, if you've got a second income that could interfere with this, let us know kind of thing. I'm like, look, it's not going to, but just in case I get injured some weekend and I can't come back, here's the sport that I'm now involved in. And yeah, technically I'm getting paid for it as well. So I suppose it's technically a second job. But yeah, he was like, yeah, no worries. That's fine. Sounds great. And yeah, no, I've never really, I know a lot of wrestlers do, but I've never really made it much of a secret. Most of my co-workers know that I do it and have actually said a few times, next time you're in town, let us know, that sort of thing. So I actually need to do that with a few of the shows I've got coming up. But yeah, I'll usually be fine with a couple of people knowing, and then word will get around quick. It's actually on my resume as well because it's event management, it's bumping in, it's promotions, there's so many aspects to wrestling. It's talking in front of a crowd, it's performing in front of a crowd, it's being comfortable in front of a crowd. It's essentially presenting skills and event management skills that are in there. And I don't think enough people take advantage of it in the wrestling scene and look at what they're doing as valuable skills that employers might be interested in. So anyone who's on a recruitment panel for me will know, and then word just gets around from there usually.
And like, like, I want to get back to the high school teaching for a second. So,
Let's.
like, let's talk about what subjects were you covering?
Computing. I was a computing teacher. That was it. That was my main one. I taught little bits of other things from time to time. So Japanese, science, a couple other things. But yeah, mostly I was computing studies.
And like, after 8 years, what was the reason for you to go, hey man, time for a change?
I was bored. And obviously, you hear about it a lot as well. Like, the workload in teaching is pretty brutal from time to time. And it was at the point where I'm like, I enjoy working with students. I enjoy seeing them succeed. I'm not enjoying this stack of paperwork. I'm not enjoying the stress. And for me, the big one was I'm not pushing myself enough. Like, I'm teaching the same thing the same way year in, year out. Time to get
Yeah.
out. If you're not going to do better year on year, why are you doing this? You're not doing anyone any favors.
Well, you lose, like, I'm sure you can lose a passion for it. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same with anything. Once you get paid
Yeah.
for it, then the passion slowly starts to go, right?
Absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still think teaching's a massively valuable profession. I have nothing but respect for everyone I know that still does it. But yeah, it was at the point where I had lost that passion to the point where I wasn't pushing myself. And I could recognize that. And I go, if you're not going to strive to be better, get out and find something where you will.
But that's the thing. I find like a lot of people like become complacent, and it's like, oh, they're in a
Mhm.
job. Oh, my job sucks, but fuck, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? Like, oh,
Exactly. Yep.
I'm not happy here. And it's like the moment of just being like, okay, I accept being in complacency. Like, I'm exactly like you. I'm the sort of person,
Mm.
if I'm not improving in what I'm doing, no matter what I'm doing, I
Yep.
sit there and go, why am I wasting my time?
Yep.
That's the first thing I go,
Absolutely.
why am I wasting my time? What do I need to do? Let's start moving, right?
Yep. And yeah, that's it. And I mean, same in wrestling as well. Like, I will bluntly admit I've not been to training in far longer than I would have liked to, but I'm still pushing myself to be stronger, to build my cardio, to actually get to the point where physically I will be better in the ring next time I step in than I was last time. But yeah, like, I think as well, as soon as I just find that I'm complacent with, you know, fitness and training and physique in wrestling, that's probably going to be where I'm going to start looking at either finding ways to get back excited about it or assessing whether or not it's time for me to bow out, if only
Yeah.
temporarily. Because who retires in wrestling for more than a couple of weeks?
Well, I mean, Terry Funk is retired, what, 30? We're about to, have we seen Ric Flair's retirement match? He's having another one, I think.
He's doing a retirement tour, I think I saw somewhere, a 30 city retirement tour. Like, how many retirement matches are you going to have on that tour, mate? Bloody hell.
Well, his final match is going to be him and Andrade versus Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. And people are going, oh, it should be a singles match. Well, bro, he's 73 years of
Yeah,
age. I doubt he
no,
could do a singles match.
that's it. Come in, do the stuff everyone wants to see, then tag out.
But that's the thing. Like, it's a smart way to do it because people still get
Absolutely.
that Ric Flair experience, but then he's also not going to be exposed. And I think that's like Flair being a 40-year, professional in the business. It doesn't want to look
Mhm.
like an idiot.
Yep. And I mean, I've done that as well, where there were matches that I probably should have pulled out of, where I had, like, just been absolutely wrecked that week, like, injuries abound, but they were tag matches. So I was able to basically go in and be like, all right, we need to protect me on these fronts. I can come in and do stuff, but I'm not going to be 100%. So can you guys just protect me? All we need to do is not tag me. Like,
But
I can
good
do
for
some
you for
basic
being
things, but
upfront. But good for you for being upfront and just saying, "Hey, look, I'm
mm,
here." But like, you know what I mean? Because I think a
yeah.
majority of people would be like, "Oh no," like try and push through, right? Because that's kind of the wrestling way. Just push through. You'll be right.
Yep. And honestly, the more I've thought about it, if I had started wrestling at 22 instead of 32, I would have been that guy. I would have been that guy who showed up, like, injured from the week and be like, "No, we'll go. Let's go. Let's go. 20-minute barn burner. Let's do it." I would have absolutely done that. But now I can be a little more sensible. I know my body a little better, and I can sit back and go, "No, I don't need to do 20 flips to impress anyone. I can just we'll do what we can do. We'll work around it. If I'm injured, I'm injured. And I'm not going to push my body beyond its limits. I'll push it because obviously wrestling is always about pushing your body to and hard up against some of its limits beyond that sometimes. Hell, there's heaps of stuff I've done that I'm not overly comfortable with, in the sense that I'm not comfortable with the idea. And then we started looking at it in training and we built in the little steps, and then bang, next thing you know, I'm doing it. Have I pulled it out in matches? Probably not, because I'm not the most comfortable in the world doing it, but it pushed me out of my comfort zone for those moments in training.
Yeah,
So yeah,
and that's probably
it's about those limits
and
and
that's
hitting them.
and I think that that's the thing in training. You really need to be able to come out of your comfort zone because, like I think like going out and to go out and perform and wrestle and to do that sort of stuff, it takes so much, not just athleticism, but just so much confidence to go out there and be
Mm.
like, hey, this is what I'm going to portray to the world
Yep,
and try
exactly.
and get. So anyone who does that, man, I have the utmost respect for anyone who's ever wrestled on any show because it takes
Mm.
so much confidence, athleticism, and dedication to get to that level.
Yep. And I mean, even so, jumping back to training for a second, I say Adam Hoffman and Carter Deems are two of the best at getting me out of my comfort zone at training. And Carter Deems specifically, shout out to him for the one incident that I'm thinking of that was out of my comfort zone. And you know which one I'm talking about if you hear or listening to this later. But they are really good at that whole look, give it a go. See how you go with it. Just build up to it. You'll be fine. Like, you'll get there. They have been really good at pushing me beyond that. And even just general comfort zone. Like me, as a non-wrestler person, the idea of being in front of a crowd without a shirt on, I would not have entertained the year before I did it. But it's just a couple of guys. Like I had plans for, a piratey shirt as part of my gimmick, and it was a couple of guys who in the lead up to it, I'm like, yeah, look, wrestlers don't really wear shirts. And I'm like, all right, cool, done. Well, we don't wrestle in a shirt then. I'm about it. Let's go. And like that alone was a big jump out of my comfort zone. And is no longer. Like it's just a thing that I do now. It's just a random bit of body confidence that wrestling gave me out of nowhere that I wasn't expecting.
How was it the first time you did it without a shirt? Like, were you like,
It was my first
shitting
match.
yourself?
So look, I was shitting myself for many, many reasons. That was the least of my concerns at that point.
Yeah, so that was match one, right? So you've gone
Yeah.
out there, no shirt on. But that's the thing, even like having that in the back of your mind on top of everything else, as glad that you're able to sort of disconnect from it and go, you know what, like there's more important shit to worry about, like getting through this match than
Oh yeah.
me having no shirt on.
Yeah, and I got a little dazed in my first match as well. One of the moves just knocked the wind out of me completely to the point where I forgot to kick out of a pin. Like that was just, yeah. I'm just exceptionally glad I was working with an exceptionally good talent for my first match who thought to break it up himself.
Who were you working that night?
Diego.
Oh, dude, he's great.
He's amazing. Like I full respect to that guy for carrying me through my first match because I have watched it back and boy did he carry me. Could not have had
What's
anyone
up?
better.
What's up, Joel Southgate, joining in the chat. Thank you for stopping by.
Boy, Joel.
Yeah, Diego's been around, man, for like I was surprised how long he's been around, dude. Like he's very knowledgeable. But
Absolutely.
as far as yourself though, like, do you have any goals that you want to achieve personally in wrestling?
No, I think that's about it. Well, I mean, yes, there is the interstate travel. I want to travel interstate. I want to hit every state of the country and, tick that box, know that I've done it. In terms of goals beyond that, I just want to keep entertaining people for as long as I can. I want to, just know that I can walk out of a weekend knowing that I've created an environment where a couple of people walked in that might have been having a really shit day and just were able to have fun for a couple of hours.
And that's the
That's,
most important thing, man.
yeah. Like this was never a I'm going to make it to the WWE, brother, kind of thing for me. Like again, I started at 32. That's not going to happen. I'm already well beyond aging out of their intake. I'm more than happy to wrestle in whatever venues you've got, entertain a crowd, and that's my goal. International would be nice, but I'm not, again, holding my breath on it anytime soon. I wouldn't mind wrestling in Japan. I feel like that'd be a lot of fun, and I feel like I could get over pretty well there. But again, if it doesn't happen, I'm fine with it. I'm more than happy to, at some point, retire, knowing that I've put on some really good shows with some really good people, had some really good matches, entertained a lot of crowds, and, just brought people along for a bit of a fun ride a few nights a month.
Do you think, like, once you do retire from in-ring, like, would you stay in the business in some capacity?
Look, maybe. It is a big time sink. But yeah, look, I don't think I could stay away because there's so much about it that's positive and fabulous that, I don't think I could stay away from it for too long.
It's
What that
addictive, isn't it?
capacity would be, I don't know. Manager, I feel like I could be a fun manager or other authority figure. I don't know. I feel like having a pirate as an authority figure is a terrible idea.
I reckon being a color commentator would be good. I'd love to do commentary with you. I reckon that'd be a lot of fun.
Look, you nearly have a couple of times. There's been a few times at FWA where I've strongly considered just coming over and grabbing a headset like all the cool kids do, but I just haven't actually acted on it because I was too busy doing something else. But you never know. One day you might find we'll be at the desk.
Well, there you go. Make sure you tune in and check out FWA to see if Bucky's going to be joining me on commentary. But it is that time of the show, ladies and gentlemen. It is that time for 60 seconds with Piers. Now, Bucky, we've explained how this works. Anyone who's tuning in for the first time, I'm going to fire a bunch of questions at the Buccaneer. He's got 60 seconds to answer as many of these questions as he can. Bro, are you ready?
I'm absolutely ready. Let's do it.
All right, you let me know, and like you give me the Iggy, and we'll start the clock.
Yep. All right. I mean, consider it done. It was below the camera.
Okay. Which wrestler would you love to go out drinking with?
Caesar. Shit answer, but I'm going with it.
Favorite song to sing at karaoke?
You Are a Pirate.
If you were given a lion as a pet, what would you name it?
Leo. Terrible name.
If you had to describe yourself in 3 words, what would they be?
Large, lovely ranger.
Instagram or Twitter?
Twitter.
Who would play you in a movie about your life?
Oh, me, ideally.
You're auditioning for Australian Idol. What song would you sing?
Feel by Robbie Williams.
If you came with a warning label, what would it say?
Annoying.
If you had to delete a month from the calendar, which month would it be?
July. Nothing against this July, but July just sucks.
I agree. What is your actually? That's my wife's birthday. Huge shout out to her. What is your go-to party trick?
I used to do a lot of card tricks. I used to be a magician. There's one I've devised myself that has a couple of false finishes in it.
Oh, nice. You have to show me that in the next show. But last one is in 5 minutes' time, you are being shipped to outer space. What 2 personal belongings do you take with you, excluding human beings?
Excluding human beings. Personal belongings. This PC's coming with me because entertainment. And if I take the bookshelf, can I have all the books as well?
I'll let it go. I'll let it.
Excellent.
But that has been 60 Seconds with Piers, with Buccaneer. Bucky, where can everyone find you on social media?
The very convenient part about that is it's Fire a Broadside, all one word on everything. You can find me there, Facebook, Instagram. I don't post much for Instagram, Twitter, and right here, well, partially here on Twitch, not so much on YouTube and the other platforms we're on.
Well, there you go, guys. Make sure you go and give Bucky a follow. Also, guys, please make sure you go and check out our sponsors, healthvape.com and sleeps.com. Use those promo codes MWAPod to get a 10% discount on your final purchase. Guys, on social media as well, you've seen me tease who I'm going to be having on later on this week. I am going to release one name right now. I will be interviewing on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. former WWE Tag Team Champion PJ Black, a.k.a. formerly known as Justin Gabriel. And I still have my special guest that I will be having on later this week, who is a former WWE World Champ and Hall of Famer. You're going to have to stay tuned to my social media. Check it out. Make sure you tune in. Tune in every Tuesday night at 8 p.m., every Thursday night at 8 p.m. for Shooting the Shit Uncensored on the Piers Austin channel, wherever you get your podcasts as well. But Buccaneer, thank you so much for being on. This has been an amazing conversation. We have to do a part 2 very, very soon.
Happily. Thank you for having me on. It's been a lot of fun. And in such an illustrious week as well. It sounds like you've got some amazing guests coming up.
Dude, and it started with one of the most amazing guests in Australian wrestling. So, sir, thank you. I appreciate your time. You were an amazing conversation. And I look forward to doing this again with you very, very soon.
Thanks again.
No problem. Take care. All the best. Peace.